Islam is a dynamic process, to borrow the concept by Sheikh Idris Samwi Hamid. It's about cultivating our own inner consciousness, our own awareness, and not only that, but finding inner peace within that. And actually, Sheikh Idris Samwi Hamid also translates the word of Islam to mean that one surrenders oneself to the safety and security of the Lord and cherisher of the worlds. So we should be in a state of inner peace from having surrendered to the transcendent reality that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should ideally have this sense of security and stability within ourselves, because we have a dynamic connection to that which lies beyond this world. And perhaps as a practice and as a culture, this is not being reinforced sufficiently within our communities. We do have majalis, we read du'as, we have salah, but in terms of cultivating the thinking of our young people, this is something that we need to address. You can be a practicing Muslim, but if your thinking is trained just like any other secular child, and your values the same as any other secular child, albeit maybe modified by some of the Islamic ethics, then that isn't really even beginning to embark on the journey of the soul that Islam is. We have a few narrations from Imam Ali alayhi salam, again reflecting upon the importance of cultivating our intellect, and he says, nothing makes you more self-sufficient than intelligence. And then he says, an intelligent person should be a model in improving his life conditions, considering his hereafter, and seeking pleasures that are not forbidden. And again, poignantly, God has lent you the intellect and he will one day take it back. We have a narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, where he says that someone went to see the Holy Prophet and he said, "O Prophet of God, what is knowledge?" The Prophet said, trying to hear. Trying to hear. What else? The Prophet said, listening. He asked, what else? The Prophet said, learning. He asked, what else? And the Prophet said, practicing what is learned. He said, what else? And the Prophet said, teaching it to other people. That's in Mishkat al-Anwar. So, very interesting that knowledge entails trying to hear. Trying to hear means being receptive, opening up your heart, opening up your intuition, cultivating your perception. Again, seeing what is beyond the surface. Looking at the bigger picture. We also need to train our youth to help them to look at the bigger picture of humanity as a whole, so that their lives are not tossed about by our careless politicians, and their ruthless aims and objectives. Our youth should be on, that tranquil boat that is the al-bayt. They should be rooted in that way of being, and that understanding, that as an example the Holy Quran has, it has this long lens view of humanity, so that what may happen around you, be it good or bad, does not disturb your soul. Your soul is attached to something higher, so that it is not at the mercy of the vicissitudes of what happens around you. Just to reflect again about the conditions of the elders of this society, who sometimes may be feeling adrift, sometimes may be feeling not supported. It used to be that Muslim families prided themselves on taking care of the elders, that everyone would be living under one roof. Different generations will be living under one roof, or in next door to each other, and as an example. But now we see that Muslim families are breaking up in the same way that Protestant families, secular Protestant capitalist families, have also broken up. The links and the bonds are disintegrating rapidly. So something else we need to pay attention to is, perhaps more than before, because we live geographically apart, our lives are so busy, etc., is that we need to be actually actively campaigning for different ways of working, different ways of living, in order that we can maintain those links. Because again, our elders have a lot of experience and knowledge and wisdom that they can pass on to the youth. It's very important that the youth have a grounding in the roots of their family and don't become unmoored like, again, the youth of Western secular society. You know, in Western secular society, we have a youth culture where parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts a lot of the time don't even figure within that world. Hence, we have a youth that are actually, again, vulnerable and very open to the hard tactics of marketing and selling, the manufacturing of youth culture that has been deliberately created to attract the youth and to sell things to the youth and to make money from the youth. So we, again, need to be very careful not to let these bonds disintegrate. We need to be very careful to maintain those values of treasuring the elders within our community, learning to speak to them with respect in a way that has been lost in the Western secular culture. And we need to ensure that the elders are not left isolated. This is happening in London. There are elderly people, Muslim people, who are not contacted by their children, their grown-up children. Their grown-up children don't phone them. They say that they're very busy. This is a tragedy. And, again, it is a part of Islam, as we know, to keep up the bonds, to maintain a society as an integral whole. It is in having an integrated society that we have a healthier society. So many of the mental problems that are arising among the elders or the youth are arising from them being detached, going adrift from any sense of, being anchored in something. And as a result, like I said, open to all kinds of negative influences. So I will conclude this speech with a reflection on how we need to try to make an effort to travel to Muslim majority countries once a year or once every 2 years. I would say this is very important for the youth. Many years ago in London, when I asked how many of the youth, when I was teaching a class, how many of these 18-year-olds had gone on Hajj, none of them had been on Hajj. Of course, Hajj is becoming very expensive now, but there are other journeys that can be taken that are less expensive, different forms of ziyarah, or just different experiences that can be had. Even encouraging our youth to go and do charity work in different Muslim majority countries, and just to experience a different way of life that has been actually influenced by Islam, because we are living in a society that hasn't been influenced by Islam. The coordinates of this society mean that within our being, within the way we live, we are not at an experiential level able completely to understand what Islam is in its dynamic, manifestation, we could say. So please try to take the youth, and please try to take the elders as well, for a journey to refresh the soul. And also, we need to work on reading the texts. It's very important that we get our youth and our elders too to read in depth, to read and study in depth. And again, with the youth, to cultivate within them the ability to grasp abstract concepts, to grasp the abstract, to grasp the spiritual, to intuit and to apprehend and to see beyond, themselves within their immediate environment. There's a higher aspect to all of us, and that is what we should be cultivating. So thank you very much for listening, and please forgive me for any mistakes that I may have made. Inshallah, we will see you hopefully in December or January. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.